go live on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're preparing to go live right now with Dr. Scott and Vicki Werner, and it actually records while it's preparing, so I'm just going to make sure everybody knows we did not announce this in advance, but we are live. Let's see. I don't see. This is weird. Skip ad. Okay, here we go. Now my phone's ringing off the hook. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. Today is Thursday, February 13th, 2020, and this is our GoldFish Report number 441. This is a special interview today with returning guests, both Vicki and Scott Werner, and we're going to be discussing today this information transformation age. And they have a special message to discuss with us. We are live streaming. I just wanted to say hello. Good morning, proud lady in Texas. We are live, and this is a really lovely opportunity to interact with our viewers. And I will keep an eye on the live chat as we go along. Yes, good morning, Maria, and all of you lovely people who are joining us. So we're going to talk today about this information age, how it can be very overwhelming. People can't seem to make heads or tails of the information. We're getting one message on mainstream media, we're getting another message in alternative media, and even that is a mixed message sometimes. And it's overwhelming. It totally overwhelms people. Like, you can't, everyone says use discernment. And I'm telling you, there's times you can just become numb to it, and just discernment becomes, kind of like another one of those, unreachable goals that you sometimes try to attain, and you just can't, it's elusive, you can't grasp it. And there's major transformations going on the planet, as you guys know. So we're going to talk about this today. I know that Vicki and Scott just returned. You might want to just talk about your trip. Maybe not. Hey, hello, aha, and of course, proud lady Texas. Good morning, Gail, and all the lovely people joining us. Thank you for being with us live. So I'm going to hand it over to Scott and Vicki. I'm not sure which one of you would like to go first, but how about ladies first? Ladies first. Let's hear it from Vicki. Thanks for joining.
Still that old thinking.
Thanks for. By the way, both of you, thanks for returning to the GoldFish Report. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, we're super excited to be here, and we love the messages that you share, and we love to be a part of it. And I'll start with a little bit of a background about why this is important to us. Is both of us have had some pretty horrendous health challenges, and we've been through some things that caused us to start asking the bigger questions. And I think that is the typical mode that most of us go along our life, and it comes in a space of, if it's not broken, don't mess with it kind of thinking. And it's not until we're in crisis or trauma or pain where we start looking for the bigger answers. And that happened to be how most of our married life was. Our marriage itself was rock solid, and we were happy, and our children were happy, but our health struggled, and both of us went down the rabbit hole. And we could say 1,000 reasons why our health depreciated, and if we summed it down into one word, it was stress. And I remember being in elementary school, and they were talking about stress and how stress kills, and it just did not make sense to me. I thought, well, how could stress damage an organ, or how can stress damage our immune system? And it wasn't until we started looking into this a little bit more, and there were definitely days where we were clawing ourselves back into hope and clawing into the next day. And I think if anybody looks at their life right now, most of us are in survival mode. Most of us are trying to get through the day, and most of us are just doing the minimum to just get by. We're paying the minimum payments, we're minimum engagement, because we're so inundated with what comes into our lives. And I'll say it starts before we're even out of bed. And the reason why that's the case is because if everybody ask themselves, how quickly do you pick up your cell phone when you wake up? Average person is within about 7 minutes, and we're still in bed. So then we pick up our phone, and then we go into this false sense of urgency. because then we respond to the text that came in last night. We look at our schedule that's coming down the pike. We go to our email, and then we're like, oh, and we got to check in with every app. And then we switch it over to Facebook, and we post our Instagram, and then we're taking a picture of our breakfast. And all of these things cause this false sense of urgency and response so we go into reaction mode rather than proaction and centering ourselves. And I think anybody who's listening right now is going to do a little bit of, yeah, you called me on it. And we do it too. I mean, it's become the mode that we interact with, and it's so much information coming at us. And we still have what's called a primitive brain. We still have a nervous system that isn't prepared for that long-term reaction mode. We still, just like the zebra out in the field and getting chased by the lion, it can recalibrate in 15 minutes if it gets away. But you and me, we picked up our phone in the next 15 minutes and we started the process all back over again. So we live in 70% of our day in stress.
Well, I have to admit, I'm glad you didn't put me on the spot like Winston used to do. he would give me a riddle, and I'd never get his riddles, so it was really embarrassing. But but honestly, it's less than 7 minutes for me. I would say it's as soon as I put eye drops in my eyes and I can see. I just, check the email, check the messages, and, to see, because why? Because I turn it off during the night. So if there was someone who was trying to reach me, they're not going to reach me until I turn it back on, because I don't want those microwave frequencies, EMFs in my room. So I generally have to do it pretty much right away, but I'm totally guilty of it, and it's not healthy. And I have to admit, no matter what my reason is, here I'm trying to justify it. No justification, right?
Yeah, it's the human condition to justify our behaviors, even, and then so all of this information's coming at us, and we're called a human being, not a human doing, and yet we are a human doing all of the time. And our humanness is a natural inclination for evolution. It's a natural inclination to grow and to expand and to better our lives. And every single generation wants the next generation to do better. All of us want to optimize the life that we have. We're not optimizing because we're always recovering. It's always a state of stress and recovering. And so this information age that we've been in, and we're moving in this with 5G, and now we're just getting streaming and downloading and multi-app and all of this engagement. Well, now we need to ask ourselves, how does this apply to me? And what am I going to do with this? And discernment is an awesome thing, but here's the deal about discernment. When they say, well, you just need to discern what information is true. But if you're in a stress and survival state, you're going to make the wrong decision, because your brain waves are going to be very incoherent. Your heart's going to be incoherent. All of your energy centers are going to be incoherent, and you're going to make a decision out of fear and out of scarcity and out of limitation, rather than a decision out of faith and hope and universal truth.
A lot of times we make decisions out of anger because we're so angry about what's going on, and that's one of the stimuli that makes us make very poor choices.
And out of the anger language, the key thing to understand about anger is it's a secondary emotion. It's not socially acceptable to, especially for a grown man, to respond in fear. We don't look at it as a socially acceptable behavior, and so we move that into anger. But it's still another language for fear.
Yes.
Okay. Well, one question I have right away is, hold on a second. Let me pull this back up. Okay. As you're talking, what occurred to me was how Vicki, by the way, if our viewers are not familiar with Vicki, she is a wonderful woman. She is one of my Steel Magnolias that I feature on the GoldFish Report Steel Magnolias series. She has an incredible story for herself, is quite an amazing woman. And so you should definitely check out her story, at least the GoldFish Report, where I interviewed her, and then go check out her website. Because what you just said is the key to our survival, in my opinion. And Scott, you can weigh in on this. But you're talking about being human, the human element, what makes us human. And I mean, literally, biologically, what makes us human. Because what's going on the planet, and we know from our reverse speech analysis friend Tiffany Fontenot from her websites, is there's a massive transhumanist agenda going on the planet, doing what they can to remove our humanness, to essentially replace our humanness with something artificial. And that's part of, and you have to understand, right? I mean, everybody knows that no, people don't know how much is controlled by AI, artificial intelligence. So this information transformation, we have to somehow be able to ground ourselves as humans, and not in the transhumanist manner. I mean, you know where I'm going with this, so why don't I let you go ahead and take it from here?
Well, the transhumanism is a major problem, so much that St. Germain had me include an entire chapter on AI. And the transhumanists are literally transforming humans. They're doing chemtrail, they're dropping silicon and aluminum on us to dummy down our brains and bring more metals in, so we're actually able to receive more transmissions from the AI. And so it's getting into our cells, it's getting into our brains. It's literally, turning us into zombies.
Yeah.
And, we have all these movies about zombies, and everybody's so fascinated about them. These people walking around, half dead, half alive. And literally, that's what transhumanism is. You're half dead and yet still a biological being. But they're controlling you through these transmissions. And it's been shown that that is the agenda. Mm-hmm. And so the transhumanism is very powerfully controlling our thoughts, our emotions, our innate humanism of our compassion. It's making, when you become in transhumanism, you are no longer compassionate. You no longer have love. You no longer have joy. You no longer have your free agency that brings you that happiness of being free and being able to control your own thoughts, because all of your thoughts are being controlled through the media, through the energies that they're shooting at us and the messages they're attaching to us. They drop nanobots on us, and these nanobots actually go and they attach to our nervous system. So we think the thoughts we are getting are coming from ourselves, but they're actually being transmitted to the nanobots and transmitted into our nervous system. And so the transhumanism right now is affecting over half of the population. And we literally are turning into robots. And right. It's quite fascinating.
You can see that when you go to walk across the street and the people are like this on their phones, with their head down, and they're walking across the street. They don't even look up when the cars are coming. That was, I mean, it seems too perfect. Like that was the goal, right? That was their goal, was to make us all
it all started
dependent on that.
It all started with over-medicating and dumbing down. We added in the fluoride to close off our pineal, which is our closing off our relationship with the divine. Then they add in these pharmacology, they add in all of these words we don't feel intelligent enough to understand. So then we feel like it's superior to us, and that we have to acquiesce our power away, and we just have to keep coming back. Our free agency was the law and is the law, but we are not thinking for ourselves because we're in this reaction mode. And then you look at social media and constantly engagement, and then all, zombies and The Walking Dead and all of this really low vibrating energy draws us in. We have mirror neurons, so whatever we're paying attention to, we become. And you know, there's so many things throughout history that has taught that lesson to us, and we just bought into it because everyone else is bought into it.
It's a tough thing to come out of. And in fact, when people get into this, they feel like they're doing their duty to conform, to do what they're hearing, to do what they're sensing, and they're not engaged in their own spiritual nature. And so our message today is we need to get back into our spiritual nature so that we are in tune not with the robotics, not with the transhumanists, not with the AI, but with the God of the universe, with the energy that emanates and created organization, created structures, literally created everything that flows in the universe in a natural order. And
excuse me.
Go ahead.
Well, God, our creator, is intelligent. It's so intelligent. Look at our bodies, right? You're a doctor, Scott. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing? And so why do we need artificial intelligence? Isn't the intelligence from our creator good enough? And so is this still part of the Satanist agenda where they have to invert everything that's godly because they want to reject God, right? So they require the artificial. See, a lot of people are in denial that the Satanism is as big as it is here, and that there's a lot of people who practice it, and even within the military industrial complex, it's very satanic. A lot of people don't realize that about our military. And I would even go as far as saying probably, many different areas of our society, government, probably, of course, courts as well, and things of that nature, schools, whatever. It's kind of the, what did the Bible say? The biggest deception that the devil ever, carried out was convincing us that he didn't exist, that it didn't exist. And that's really where we're at. Most people just don't realize that there is this artificial intelligence. It's not our creator's intelligence. And you're absolutely right. I think we need to get back into that spiritual nature. But how can we do that when our phones are when our faces are glued to this, with the plasma interacting with our own energy field and perhaps manipulating our energy field? Is that what that does, Scott? What do we do?
Absolutely.
What do we do?
Yes.
How do we?
Yeah, it's been proven that, when you're engaged on computers, you're engaged on your phones, you're engaged in media, your television set, even going to the movies, and you become engaged in the energies. It's a form of mind control. And so the only way to get out of the mind control is to go within. Now, when I say go within, a lot of people go, oh, what are you talking about? Well, let me tell you, the most important thing that Saint Germain said to me last night about this message is we need to get back to meditating, to contemplating, to actually going in and creating our reality through attaching ourselves to the void where God created the universe. And a lot of people go, the void, what the heck is that? And literally before the universe was created, there was nothing. It was a nowhere, no time, no space, no body, nothing. And so we go to a place where literally you can do this. When I first started doing TM, Transcendental Meditation, 18 years ago, I went to the void. It was the first place I went. And my TM instructor said, oh, you can't go there. You're not supposed to be able to go there until you've meditated for a couple of years. Well, I went the second time I meditated. And it bugged me because I wasn't taught what it was and what I was supposed to do there. And what we're supposed to do in the void is create what we actually desire, create our prosperity, create new bodies even. You know, we can go to the void and actually shift timeline, shift dimension, shift space, and we can travel. We can do all kinds of stuff in the void. Go ahead.
Scott, you can go to the void and do these things. A lot of us can't do that yet. I have some comments in here in the comment section, so I'm not trying to interrupt, but because we are live, we're gonna take some comments from the live chat here. Well, there's some comments, and I thought it would be interesting. We have Harry. I agree with you. He says, "For we don't wrestle with flesh of this earth, but principalities and spiritual wickedness in high office." He's absolutely right. Right?
Yes. Yeah, because when we're in this third dimensional consciousness, we're always engaged in lower vibrations, in mass, in atomic energy. They've actually shown that the atomic structure of the atoms doesn't show up until you put your attention on the mass, the structure. It's a wave until we as humans put our attention on it, then it becomes mass. When we put our attention on our bodies, on our heaviness, on all our diseases, which are being created by our emotions and our mind state, we actually make ourselves heavier. We make ourselves more dense. We become more solid, more heavy. You know, I was talking to a lady the other day, and she was asking me the question, well, have you ever had an instant when you were doing meditation where you became lighter than air? And I was like, yes, I've had several instances. And, you know, you hear about the yogis levitating. Well, it's because they take their mind off all of the mass, all the third dimensional crap, and they become lighter than mass, and their energy actually levitates them up off the ground. Now, I've had this happen to me a couple of times, and the most significant one, I was in the Golden Dome. There's two Golden Domes in Fairfield, Iowa, where the transcendental meditators are. And I was invited to go into the women's dome. And this hardly ever happens. I was one of the few lucky ones that was able to go in, and I started meditating, and I ended up on the ceiling. And it was the most incredible thing because I was just lighter than mass. And when I realized it, all of a sudden I start dropping because my mind came back into the body, into the matter, into the mass. Now, why is this significant? It taught me that we can shift our consciousness. We can shift out of the heaviness, out of the chaos, and get into bliss, into happiness, and most importantly, the love consciousness.
Let me just read. I'm sorry, Vicki, just one second. Okay, so, and someone said, let me go back up for just a minute and then I'll let Vicki respond. It's hard to be positive, Blue Angel says. Yes, it is. Let me just see. Let me just catch up on a couple comments and then you can take it there.
Yes.
Okay, Travis said, hello, Louisa, Vicki, and Scott. Thank you all so much for all you do, for all that you do. And we have... Okay, Lynn is saying that Lysol label reads kills human coronavirus. Isn't that funny? And here they're worrying about people dropping dead. This fear, we're going to get into fear a little bit later because there's just that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us into fear. And I know you're really good with that. Scott's really good. Let me tell you, this is a power couple. These people are here for a purpose. These two, Vicki and Scott, and I know them personally. I know them well. Vicki does this past life regression, which is amazing. And she did it for me, which was amazing. And you really have to understand that this is a very powerful couple right here. And they have a really strong spiritual purpose on this planet. And we really need to hear this message right now because we're being inundated with this artificial I would just say intelligence. We're, and they can come in many different ways, but also artificial information, fake news, that's what I'm talking about. We have being heavy has nothing to do with eating cheeseburgers and cookies. Slim, what are you talking about, Slim? That's not the topic we're talking about right now. What are you doing? Slim, he must be responding to somebody else. I'm really sorry. Where did he go?
Oh, it's good. It's all good.
No, I know Slim Frank. I know who this is. This is funny. But how do we recognize when we are being controlled as opposed to acting on our own? And so that's one question. Hold on to that. I've been going to my higher dimensional self to help me. Also using tonight and vibrational frequency, toning. I'm sorry. Also using toning, which Scott's talked about in the past, and vibrational frequency helps. Excellent. I mean, you can comment on that. Oh, you were joking, Slim. Okay, I thought you were. Okay, hey, I love
Slim.
I really love how we're doing this live because they're really funny, and I know who he is, so it's okay. I'm not, yeah. Dr. Scott makes me feel better. His tone is so nice and calm. I agree, absolutely. This is like a therapy session, guys. We're having therapy this morning.
Live therapy.
Live group therapy with Scott and Vicki Werner. Vicki's an awesome woman. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm so proud to have you join us. Vicki has, an immense amount of strength and wisdom, and that's what we need. We need to be strong with all of this. Now, do you want me to repeat? Yes, I'll post a link for Vicki. It'll be in the description section of the video. Absolutely. Thanks, Slim. Yeah, we needed a laugh. Thanks for bringing us that laugh. I appreciate it. I love you guys. I really do. All of our viewers. Did you want me to repeat the question? Someone said, how do we recognize when we are being controlled as opposed to acting on our own? So whoever wants to take that question.
You want to take that one? Or, well, I feel like, let me set a.
She wanted to add something when I was talking.
Go ahead.
Let me get a baseline for where maybe the question is going to be answered and where we're going. In many ways, and being married to him, being with Scott for the last 18 years, and there was times he received messages from Jesus and Saint Germain and the great divine director, and he would say, he'd walk in having a cup of coffee and saying, well, Saint Germain told me this, and I'm like, well, if Saint Germain wants me to know, he'll tell me, because if I need to know that, I'll have that information. And so I know when somebody is out there and connected and receiving that information. And what he's talking about, being in the domes and going to the void, that isn't necessarily, it would be classified as a superhuman trait, but it's not, because all of us have that ability. We just haven't tapped into it. Mm-hmm. So let me break that down a little bit. Mm-hmm. About being controlled and manipulated. First of all, we need to become very, so you're on pause, right? No,
you go ahead and go. No, it's just my camera. Keep going.
Okay, good.
I'll be right there.
All right. So, first of all, we need to we need to recognize and remember that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, not physical beings occasionally having a spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. And most people want to get off that hamster wheel occasionally, because we recognize that we're out of balance, and we recognize out of balance. And then the first thing that we'll hear somebody say is, well, you need to meditate. And then it will follow up with, well, I can't meditate. And meditation is simple, but not easy. And in that reasoning is because we have conditioned our lifestyle back to that. We've been conditioned in reaction mode, and we become very convergent focused, very object focused, because we're putting out many fires all day long. And especially, let's just speak for like mothers in the morning, and we're trying to get our kids out the door for school, and like, grab your backpack. Did you remember your homework? And did you eat your breakfast? Did you now pick up your phone? Did you brush your teeth? Don't forget your jacket. They're very, very object focused, and we're just constantly putting these things rather than coming from a space of centered. Mm-hmm. And so bringing that back into meditation meditation is something, the purpose of meditation is to align and get out of the way so that your autonomic nervous system can recalibrate. There isn't a greater intelligence on this planet than what our body is capable of, but we have to remember it's only capable of that when we're aligned and we're in that parasympathetic returning state of homeostasis rather than that reaction mode. And it takes a lot for somebody to want to really wake up and know that they have to make some changes in their life. And again, I bring that back to trauma and pain. And the reason why that is the working one is because all of a sudden we recognize how we feel isn't working for us anymore. And, you know, we've spent our lives where we condition ourselves. And by the time we're 30 or 40 years old, we've memorized every emotion we're going to have. We know exactly how we're going to engage with the traffic on the road, with our coworker, with our children, with our spouse, with our neighbor. Each one of those things, we've memorized that emotion. And if we look at our emotions, it is the language of the body, and our thoughts are the language of the mind. We cannot separate the two. They're always in communication. Every thought, you know, like every cell of our body, trillions of cells, they're eavesdropping on our thoughts and our emotions, and they're responding accordingly based upon our thoughts and our emotions. And so what I love about meditation is the line where you know, it's not, meditation isn't so that we can control our thoughts. We meditate so that our thoughts don't control us. And then what meditation simply means is awareness, and we become aware. Now I'll bring this back that we have 3 states of mind. We have unconscious, and PS, we're in that 90% of the time. Then we have aware, and then we have self-aware. Now, as an example, when we wake up, you don't even think you need to pick up your phone. You just pick up your phone, and you don't even think about having to go to the restroom or take a shower or grab that cup of coffee. We just follow this pattern that we've done. We follow, you know, we'll put on our slippers the exact same way. We'll grab the clothes the same way. We'll put our laundry away from the night before. All of those things we just do because we've conditioned ourselves in that pattern. And that's in a very unconscious state. And as an example that's usually given is you drove for a half hour and don't even know how you arrived there. You're like, oh, how did I arrive there? Oh, well, you know how to drive. It's an unconscious thing that we do. And that's kind of an elementary way just to kind of break that down. But then awareness is, or like, oh, how did I get here? And then the self-awareness starts happening when we start asking questions. We start asking, like, what is it I want to change? What's working for me? What isn't working for me? And recognize that these habitual patterns of emotional instability, or the thoughts where we lean into anxiety and depression, and we recognize that our emotions and thoughts kind of get out of control, and then it takes something to go, it's worth it for me to love myself enough to recalibrate. And we can only recalibrate when we find balance in our different chakras or energy centers. We got to remember we're energy beings, and what Scott was talking about is particle and wave, and talking about the energy and matter that when it's a momentary phenomenon, that the wave becomes particle only when there's a tension on it. And then the moment, it's such a broad concept, and it's bigger than what we can really address here. But it comes down to that as humans, one of our biggest things we need to overcome is our inability to focus and our inability to hold attention, because back to that convergent, we're always in that reaction mode. So we're always putting out fires. And so when someone tries to sit down and meditate, and their mind is going like this, 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we remember that the 17 things that we had on our to-do list, we have to get up and go write all of those things down, and then we take a breath and we try to sit back down and try to drop back into it. If we haven't changed our state of mind, and if we haven't changed our emotional state, and we get right back up and start right back in, we're like, okay, well, I just gave away 15 minutes. I'm never going to get back. then there was no purpose for it. And meditating, if you're just sitting there, there's no purpose. But if you can get to a state where you calm the nervous system, where you engage in a elevated emotion of joy and happiness, and you put a smile on your face, and you feel peace and serenity, and you get up as if the life that you want to create exists right now, and you behave and you carry that as long as you can. I would say for our marriage, the thing that we call each other out the most on is you don't have permission to go back into that and to stay into that heaviness. And, you know, even this morning I made a comment, Scott made a comment, and I made a comment, and it just kind of like, you know, just kind of down for a sec. And then we both have to recognize we don't have permission to sit in that. We don't have permission to hold a grudge. We don't have a permission to like call each other out and to engage in emotional stuff and go in the corner and lick our wounds and remember tonight, oh wait, I'm still upset by that thing that I took offense at, even though there was no offense. And you know, we tend to do that in life. But
yeah, everyone's like,
we recognize we can't speak it unless we live it. And that means every single day engage in it and call each other out. And it's the coming back period that's the crucial one. We all get off balance. We all have emotional upheaval. We all get affected by the full moon. We all have restless nights. We all have stress that we have no control over. But how long do you want to engage in it? And that's where free agency is your power tool. That's where you become the superhuman that recognize, no, I have control over my emotions. I just have to get past this period. And in order to do that, I need to calm my nervous system down.
Okay, let's just go to some comments real quick, because this is really important. What you're really hitting on something that everybody really, it pertains to everybody out there. You're absolutely right.
Everybody.
This is this is our, you know, we're creatures of habit. Yeah, we get up, we put our phone on, we put our slippers on the same way, just like you said. We're creatures of habit, makes us comfortable. It's stuff we don't really have to think about, but it's stuff we need to do to get our day going, and it's okay, right? Because it's automatic driving.
Yep.
You hope it's not quite as automatic as that, but it does happen, yeah. But you're talking about really even more. We're talking about behavioral programming, essentially. This programming is just so on such a deep intrinsic level, and we are programmed for fear, you know that. And this is really what everyone's obstacle is. Let me just go seeing here. Slim's back with another comment, and it's a good one this time. Concentrating and focusing on manifestation really does work. God says, ask and it shall be yours. I mean, he's making it sound very oversimplified, but that's what it is, right?
Thank you. It is simple.
Yeah.
We're the ones that make it complicated.
He said,
however,
yeah, go ahead.
That is the case if we have our emotions and our mind in alignment. Now, as a mentor, when we have one-on-one clients, the number one thing that, you know, we can say manifestations, and we can do a vision board, and we can do affirmations and declarations, and we can call our truth all day long. But if we say that and we're like, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, and wise all day long, and our body's like, yeah, but actually, I remember this time back in history where somebody said I wasn't very smart, and I clearly have no money in my bank account, and I'm not feeling so good right now. So yeah, that's not working for me. That's the bigger voice. That's the louder voice, and it's 90% of our voice. That's the subconscious programming. So we got to call that out, and we do it through love and awareness. And then we have to come from spending less time here and more time here, because it comes back to particle and wave. It only exists when our attention's on it. So the less time from a physical standpoint, our body feels those things, and our body starts to have all of these symptoms come up. We can say, yep, I'm going to feed you. Yep, I understand this knee feels like a little attention needs to be given to that. However, right now I'm going to take control of the environment. I'm going to calm my nervous system down. I'm going to put my attention more of where I want to go. And my attention is my thoughts and my emotions. And I become I become aligned and in balance with that truth rather than the perception truth that we've been carrying.
Okay, but how do we have more comments here. We have Slim has got a really great story. Guys, when I send you, I shouldn't be so informal, guys. I mean, you know, you're my friends, but Scott and Vicki, we have someone here sharing a story about just what we're talking about. But you're gonna, when I send you the link, you'll be able to see all of the chat. So you get to go back and see all the chat, because unfortunately Scott and Vicki can't see the chat at the same time, but you can see it afterwards. Someone's saying, you know, I need to learn how to meditate better. I get distracted. I will work on this. That is really, you know, the biggest problem everybody has is the distraction. And I find, because a lot of people are they don't realize it, but they're very sensitive also to, well, for myself particularly, I'm very sensitive to pitch. I don't have perfect pitch, but I have relative pitch. So I always am aware of the intervals between sounds and pitches and noises, because it's a gift for me, but a curse in some ways, because I did go to music school, and so that was where I developed that. You know, that's where I put that ability into place. But in the real world, it's great for music, but in the real world, it's very distracting. I have to sleep with earplugs, because even if I hear things while I'm sleeping, it'll distract me and wake me up. So the idea of meditation, you know, is difficult, because I'm hearing, you know, and I know it's about focusing your attention. I get that. And so what I would do, instead of wearing earplugs to meditate, I would put on like a tone, like bowls. Do you use the bowls, that tone, the Tibetan bowls and things? Now what do you suggest to help people? There's ways to really try to get into that, and you might need to have some paraphernalia to help you out with that. What do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, the number one thing that I recommend the most is to calm your breathing. Take inhale and exhale deep breaths, and when we exhale and we slow our exhale down to like about 5-6 counts, it's already telling the nervous system that we're safe. So first we got to shut off the sympathetic nervous system, where our parasympathetic comes online, and that's the first step, is just slowing our breathing down. Another way that we can do is close our eyes, close off the sensory, external sensory. It's the same thing when I do regressions or any of those things. We close our eyes because we want to minimize any of our 5 sensory input. And for somebody who's just wanting to begin, start with closing your eyes, moving your breath, and then placing your hands on your heart and not thinking about your heart. The natural instinct is we want to think about our heart, and we go into this mind, but our heart and our brain coherence is very, very, very crucial. And under stress, they're very irregular. It's not coherent. The rhythm is very irregular. And so placing our hands on our chest, breathe, slowing our breath. And if we just take just a few moments to do that, we become more coherent, and just then come from the heart. When we make decisions, come from the heart, and that slows that down, and then it becomes more rhythm throughout all of the other energy centers. And then to take this to the next level, for somebody who just wants to meditate, and you're like, okay, I heard I need to meditate, and they'll go sit down on the couch, and then they hear the dog barking, they'll let the dog out, and then they come back in, they take a breath, and then the phone rings, and like, okay, I gotta turn off my phone. We're still responding. So I highly, highly suggest, there is a zillion YouTube videos. There's a zillion people doing it. We teach it. So many people teach it. And it's people who have gone the journey, and they'll turn back and be like, got to come this way. It starts there. You got to meditate, and you got to make time for yourself. And so start with, I don't recommend silence. In fact, I did a sensory deprivation tank, and I'm like, oh, I want it silent and dark. And, you know, a few months ago I did this, and I thought, no, that's going to be so great. I'm just going to go into the Zen state, and I'm going to say, the hell. You get in there and it's quiet and dark, and your mind, all of a sudden, that starts getting very, very loud. So yeah. I highly suggest a guided meditation where you can walk you through that. And when you notice that your mind wanders, just come back. Just come back. There's, like I said, there's so many online that are for free. There's so many resources. Another thing, get out in nature. Nature is in balance. If we just get out there and breathe, and we turn off all of the media, and we turn off our phones that's holding our attention. Obviously drink more water, obviously eat better, obviously get physical exercise so that your body feels like it's on the same team. And then having guided imagery and guided meditations with sound and a voice that can lead us, and that we can hold our attention. And again, it comes back to, we're not very trained in holding our attention. But one of the things that we can really practice is coming from that convergent focus, that object focus, where we're just constantly conditioned to do that, where we can expand our awareness and broaden our awareness into the energy. And so if you take, for instance, and you close your eyes and you take a breath and you visualize, you'll put your attention down on your foot, and then you just expand your attention around your foot. Those are just very simple basics, putting your attention in different parts of your body, expand it beyond it, and you become divergent focus. And in this divergent focus, we put our attention on the energy rather than the matter.
Let me just interject here for a second, because I have gone through this experience with you, Vicki. You did a past life regression on me. I have to tell you, not everybody can do this. And Vicki has an incredible ability. I was very impressed. She's very patient, but she knows the journey. She knows what it takes. I was very surprised, and Proud Lady Texas says, thank you, Vicki. I was very surprised at how patient she was in guiding, but not leading. There's a difference. She wants you to have the experience, but she's guiding you, and you're having the experience. And it's not, if you have trouble concentrating and you have trouble focusing and staying focused, I'm going to unplug that phone. Then, Vicki has got this amazing ability, because I haven't seen anyone quite like her do this. And my viewers have to know that I'll say nothing if I don't have anything nice to say. But if I pay someone a compliment, it is absolutely heartfelt and the truth of my experience. And this I have to say about Vicki. What she's explaining right now is exactly how patient and how kind, and you feel very secure when she's guiding you, but not leading you. And that's the difference between some people who do these guided meditations, is that they're leading you. So it becomes, it's not your journey, it's not your guide, it's not your unique experience, but someone who's guiding you to see certain things. And here they're, it unfolds very differently. Thank you, Blue Angel, we appreciate that.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Well, okay, so this is let me just see what comments people have, because these are the issues that are coming up. Driving home from a friend's house, just spent the restless night with 5G cameras staring at me. How are we supposed to deal with it? Thank you. So that's PCG Terry.
Well, I noticed you have a little piece of tape over your phone video, and we can do that. We can actually shut off, unplug your TV, unplug your Wi-Fi at night, so that energy isn't constantly badgering your system. And, when we talk about the subconscious controlling our life, that subconscious is the program. And we've been programmed to automatically do most everything we're doing. And we as humans, we weren't really actually built to be programmed to do the same thing all the time. And yet that's what's happening. And so we need to recreate the scenario. Don't drive the same way home every day. Don't get the same food you get on Tuesday, Taco Tuesday every Tuesday. You need to break it up and change your life enough so you're creating new patterns. And that pulls you out of that subconscious programming. It's very important that we do things differently. And believe it or not, it creates an energy of being a creator. You become more creative when you get out of the programming. You become more aware when you get out of the program. And it's so important that we do that.
So what you're saying is we have to get out of our own way. We are in our way.
We are in our own way. And there's nothing that the divine loves more when we get out of the way. And we can only get out of the way when we have awareness.
Okay,
And,
so someone said
ahead.
something about the meditation. Someone had said, let's see, let me go back. Right. So it's not, okay. So it's not just, okay. So one part of the meditation is the focusing. Let me see where that comment went. And the other part is the connecting. I think that you don't want to be, I think that you don't have to rush this. I mean, it's a process that will unfold naturally once we get out of our own way. Here she said, oh, na cha cha. Meditation is fine to gain awareness, but you must embody the awareness and become your higher dimensional self. Yeah, but don't expect to do that. Like, let's have realistic expectations about this. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. I really want to respond to that so that we have a greater understanding. And when we talk about the yogis and levitation and all of that kind of thing, and it's such a natural inclination to want to keep going this way. And we put we become these granola girls, and we just turn off all of the Wi-Fi, and we just like, no, I'm only going to eat organic. And we just have to, like, we make these claims that these are what we're going on. Here's the thing we need to remember is our emotions are stored in our body, and they're going to be stored in the 3 lower energy centers, in the base chakras. Those are all survival energy centers. And it's not wrong or bad, and it's our brain doesn't focus on this reaction mode because it's wrong and we're not trained. It does it because our brain has one role, and it's to keep us alive. And so our brain remembers the things that caused us pain, and our brain remembers the person who caused a mishap, or that the oven was hot, or that you don't go out on the road. All of those things, because it's a survival. It's a way to keep us on this planet. And these base emotions that are in these lower energy centers, if we don't work those out and pull those out. Now, I am not a proponent of talk therapy extensively. I'm not against it, but like if somebody says I've had a great relationship with my therapist because I've been seeing them for 20 years, maybe we need to talk a little bit different. But if there's something that needs to momentarily, for a short term, great. But the key that we need to look at is that these lower energy centers, where we're going to hold shame, fear, guilt, that all of these negative lower vibrations, think of the lower vibration energy is going to be in the lower vibrations of the body, lower centers of the body. And in order to break that up, there's 2 things we need to take into consideration. One is breath, like a lot of breath, and we want to move those energy centers, break those up. And the secondary is, we want to break those up and all of that, but we don't want to reside there. So have awareness of what you want to work on. And then when you notice a negative emotion or a trigger of a negative emotion, recalibrate quickly and come back to this. Like, I'll say this a number of times because it really needs to dive in. Spend less attention there and more attention there. Have awareness. Yeah, I still have some shame, or I still have some guilt. Every mother has guilt for stuff they haven't done. Every person has shame for experiences we don't even remember. Every person has fear of something. And when people say, I fear nothing, I'm fearless, maybe you have shut that down, but everybody has something that they're afraid of. And if we just maybe haven't turned on that icon on the computer, like, oh yeah, well, what about losing somebody close to you? Finances completely go out of control. We all have something. So understand that we all have those same conditions. And when we want to be in this elevated state, we want to move towards the ascension, and we want to lift our spirits up, and we want to be in this creation mode. I'll say from a mentoring standpoint, it's the same thing with somebody they say, well, I want more money. And then I'll say, well, how much more? What are we at? And it's such an interesting thing, because most people will default to $1 million. I want $1 million because that's where the answers are. All my life's fine when I have $1 million. And then I'll say, okay, well, where are you now? Again, back to the awareness. Where are we now? Well, I make $40,000 a year. And so, okay, well, I'm going to tell you that $1 million mark, you could say that again all day long. I want to make $1 million. I make $1 million. I have $1 million. I have my mansion, and I have my new car, and I have all these trips, all of these things, but your body still resides in the $40,000 mark. And so that becomes very, it becomes the fantasy zone. And we're always just kind of a little bit away from it because we haven't identified it as true. We need to recalibrate and hold the emotional state. So then you bring it back into meditation. When a negative emotion comes up, there's other things that I love to use. EFT or tapping is another great one to help pull those out. Some body work and there's a million things that are out there. There's some great therapists that do all of those kind of things. But do that somewhat, but then back into that meditative state, lift your energy up and into this higher love. Again, I said those energy centers, those 3 lower ones, are where all of those negative emotions reside. We haven't even got to the heart yet. And that's where the love and compassion for self and the love and compassion for humanity resides. And we have to break up those lower energies by, journaling and meditation and tapping and all of these different modalities to break those up. Then we open that heart. Then we put that attention more on that higher level of being, and then reside in that as much as possible. When we bounce off, recalibrate quickly.
Okay, let me just go to the live chat here so I can share this with you, as I'm enjoying watching this. Scott's watching me smile, probably.
We're stirring up good things, I hope.
Oh, very good things, and some pretty comical things too, in a sense. Let me just say, so Eternal says, I think the Werners are talking today about meditating to reset our nervous system so that we can stay out of stress. Not to say that you can't do it to ascend, but
yep.
Yeah, that's
because
actually exactly what they're talking
about. Do that.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have, okay, so I had someone who asked whether you guys were aliens, and I really thought they were kidding.
We're all aliens, aren't we?
According to our children, we probably are, because our children, I use essential oil.
Uh-oh, we're getting hung on the internet connection here, guys. I think we have to. You froze. I hope it's my internet. I hope my internet's okay. But you guys froze, just so you know. You might have to come back. You might have to log back in. So I'll just keep this going. You just log back in when you're ready. If your internet dropped. See, when you start talking about good, positive things, how to really help one another, something that's really useful and helpful for people, just seems like there's always going to be some interference in this. So I'm just going to text them to log back in because, yeah, their connection dropped, sadly. They'll be back. There they are.
There we are.
You see, you can't have too much fun or they're going to drop out our internet.
That's right.
I'm telling you.
They called us out on the alien thing.
we got out of our lower chakras by going into love and happiness.
Okay. Now, in all seriousness, when I realized as I started communicating, Spirited Senior, yeah, she says, no, I'm not kidding. There are many among us. I think it's a good thing we need to learn. And absolutely. Yeah. So I realized that, this was a serious question, but it's live chat. You don't know who you're talking to, so I don't know. So now I can see it's unfolding, and they were taking this because she says they talk from a place that I wish to attain.
Oh, and God bless you. God bless you.
And you can attain.
Yeah.
I will say,
by focusing on.
I will say we don't speak norm. And, we live in Southern Utah where it's predominantly one religion. We don't belong to that religion, but we respect and love all religions. It's just not where we're at. And so our children know that we're going to be given supplements. I'm always going to lean towards a healthier diet, but we eat cookies and drink wine and drink coffee because we like it too. But we also have a really strong attention. And I'll tell you, our attention on living the life that we strive for is because we have really gone through hell. We really have nearly lost our lives. We've had bedridden. Both of us have been next to the person, wondering if that person's going to wake up tomorrow. And I'm not talking a singular, I'm talking years of that. And anybody who knows Scott's history and some of our past history of trauma and being pregnant and losing our business and losing everything while your husband's illegally put in prison for something he didn't have, that doesn't happen under normal terms. And then feeling like even your own family doesn't understand that and not knowing who to trust. I have been chronic. We had to move because I was so afraid of the doorbell ringing in our old house because it just of the trauma of the FBI coming. So we've gone through some real heavy stuff to get here, and we have not arrived. We have no way have we arrived, but we have a really clear intention of where we want to go.
Yeah, and my response to them was, I agree. They have done a lot of work to reach this level. They are very good mentors. This is their mission here. We need mentors. So it didn't come. There was a price tag, and I don't mean dollars so much as there was a price that you had to
on the soul.
There was a
soul price.
There was a spiritual price that you had to pay to get here, but you're here, you have each other, and the two of you are truly a dynamic duo. I first wanted to say thank you to Christine for your super chat. I appreciate that. She says, just happy I caught the show. Thank you. And I also wanted to mention that let's see. This is a battle. Harry says, it's the battle between the corrupt versus the justice seekers, all of the species and all of the entities. Absolutely. And it's also, but it's an internal battle because they have us confused. They want us confused. They want us feeling comfortable with fear. They want us to give in to fear. They want us to be driven by fear. And, Jesus never said those things. And I don't mean Jesus in a religious sense. If you look at Jesus as an ascended master, then you can figure out what his messages were when you read the Bible. If you just take the perspective that he was an ascended master and you read the Bible a little bit differently, and then you can gain more insight, in my opinion. To my opinion, you can gain more insight about his message that way. What do you think, Scott?
Oh, it's an excellent opinion. It's not an opinion, it's the truth. And the truth shall make you free. And how do we become free? Freeing ourselves from the programming, the conditioning. And so, Vicki and I are at a place in our lives where we are freely choosing to make better choices. Yeah. And we're not choosing the things we're faced with on the television or the car advertisements or the pharmaceutical advertisements that we get hit with.
Right.
We are making conscious choices to become more conscious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it starts with when we see something that is out of alignment of the direction we're going. I'm bringing this back. Where are you going to place your attention? Because wherever we place our attention, it magnifies. And so when we place our attention on what we see as bad, when we look at our textbook and we don't like the way it feels and our emotions drop into shame and how am I ever going to get out of this? And then we watch the news and we watch all of these horrific things happening. Mm-hmm. We can send a prayer, we can hold intention, we can ask the divine to, but for us to physically engage in our thoughts and all day stew and what about this and all the political agenda and all the pharmaceutical agenda and all of this agenda, just remember the divine resides within us. And in order to access that, we need to
there you go again.
Be more coherent.
Okay, no, you're okay. Sorry, the internet froze for a moment. Okay.
So we align to our divine truth. We come into a space where we have awareness of what goes on. We can have awareness of it. but are we engaging emotionally in it? Are we engaging our thoughts in it? That's the pivotal place. And that comes back to the free agency. How much of our attention is when we watch the news and we stew about it, and the next person we talk to, and we see somebody in line, and you're like, did you see what was on the news? Did you see what they're doing to the president? Did you see? We engage in it, and we engage in it, and we engage in it. Then how are we ever going to lift ourselves here? How are we ever going to lift the president here? How are we going to lift humanity here if we keep stewing in the same pot? We have to have awareness, but not engage emotionally. We can intellectually, but not just have our thoughts just run rampant, and then think, okay, now I'm really clear where I don't want to be. That gave us clarity. Now with this clarity, where do we want to go? What feels good? We align with what feels good, because if it feels right, it's truth. And then now that one can segue, because people are like, no, the cookie feels right. Well, it's good conditioning. So let's just not, don't buy too much into the language of that semantic. Let's just go back to truth. But what aligns to truth, the higher order, the higher level of consciousness, and put our attention on love, compassion, forgiveness, and open our heart to humanity and to ourselves, and take time for yourself in divine love, and meditate and breathe, and treat yourself and others with compassion and kindness.
And gratitude.
Gratitude.
Gratitude is where we start literally creating our Taurus and bringing in energy and information and love and all the consciousness. So gratitude, having a gratitude journal, just sit down, write down what you're grateful for, puts you into a space of receivership, especially if you do it at night. All night long, you'll receive. And my biggest thing is I love to be in gratitude, because I know that that's when I'm going to receive messages, receive energy, receive money. Because when you're in gratitude, that gratitude goes out through our thoughts and goes out into the universe and actually attracts very good things into our lives.
And gratitude is the end result of accomplishing what you want. So there we are.
So we have Christine, who says a kind of Faustian bargain reversed. That's the price for a light worker. Definitely. Talk about working on your shadow self, 0 point energy clearing. Yeah, we have to get out of our shadow self. And Slim says most do not realize that you are in low density until the wicked spiritual powers come after you. Then you wake up and no one around you, friends and family, don't comprehend the wickedness. So it takes a lot, but it's very hard to appreciation, gratitude that grows. Exactly. Thank you, Christine. The Werners spoke of how much illness they have been through. Was the practice of meditation what helped start bringing them out of illness? Did you hear that?
I would say that what actually brought us, and we are not totally out of the illness yet.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, when we went to Dubai and I left my phone off, I didn't communicate with anything. I was totally focused and all in with love consciousness and meditating. Everything went away. All my aches, my pains, my fatigue, everything that I was dealing with, even my pancreas started working better when I was focused on the love consciousness, focused on the gratitude, and just being in the present moment. And literally, when I came back home and got involved in all my stuff again, everything sort of started creeping back in. And so what we have to do is stay in that energy, stay in that feeling of the healed body, the perfected body, the energy body, rather than the heaviness of all the crap we've been through. Even reviewing my history brings the pain back.
Yeah.
And so We need to shift our energy into a new consciousness, a new awareness. And we can't do that staying in our subconscious and staying in the fear, staying in the chaos. We have to create organization, go back into the love.
What you're talking about is basically reprogramming ourselves. That's what we need to do. We really need to reprogram ourselves, because we are so programmed that it's very hard to break the cycle of the negative thinking, of the reverting to thinking. Look, I mean, I've never really shared my story on Goldfish Report 2 in detail, but I can tell you there's times in life, and Scott and Vicki have gone through this in their way as well, that, well, first of all, let me just say that there are some interesting couples who are working together to share and bring information and knowledge to people right now. And I'm really pleased to know that and share this time with Vicki and Scott Werner, because I do believe that they are two of these very special people who are here to help us. There's another couple too, which I hope to have a chance to bring on Goldfish Report to talk about it as well. But this is really about, like, you can't underscore the words that they're talking about, because you have to, what you said was, you have to align with what's for your highest good. Forget about what's going on around you with the media and this and all of that and these other things. Align, and you really have to um, you have to find some inner strength to do this. I mean, this is about discipline and inner strength. Of course, the first thing is the realization that you need to make a change, that nothing's going to change unless you make a change. One person earlier said, be the ball. I did see Dr. Wayne Dwyer years ago talk about this, be the ball, so you can see things from a different perspective, be the ball. So you're changing your perspective of things. And you can focus your attention on all the bad things people have done to you. And where is that going to get you? Right? Scott, you have talked on this program. You told your story and you cried. And you shared your story with us. Thank you for doing that. It's so brave of you to do that. But it taught us all that this element, we have within ourselves, we create this career, we create so many things in our life that we identify as who we are. And as soon as you feel secure in that, this tower moment comes along. In the tarot cards, it's called a tower moment, because it's like this shocking change. The universe is like, no, I'm pulling you in a different direction, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So, and this is kind of what your experience put you in that position, both of you. And like I said, Vicki is just an amazing woman. If you don't know her story, you should get her book and read it, because she has a lot to offer people. If you want to know how to find the strength and this discipline, these are two people who can help you. They've helped me. If it wasn't for them, they've done some wonderful things for me, and I'm really grateful for both of them. And it's because I have this experience that I can tell you and speak from my heart, really, what they have to offer. And they can't underestimate the words that they're using, the terms that they're stating, the concepts that they're trying to communicate, and they're doing a very good job communicating. But you don't take one word they say for granted. It's very true. It's very serious. It's like, you have to distance yourself from that media, from what's going on in the world. And when you do that, you will find your body relaxes. You won't be stressed as much. You won't be feeling the pains. As Scott was saying, he had to disconnect. You were out in Dubai. You didn't explain why you were in Dubai. I don't know if you want to, but it was a really great spiritual, I think, they're studying. They're always students too.
We are eternal students. That is correct.
And that's what you were doing in Dubai. You were studying. And so you're becoming the teachers that we need, because you are the perpetual lifelong student. And that's what a yogi is. The yogi never says, I know everything. I mean, they are always learning. And that's really kind of you know, where I see the two of you. I've seen the two of you even grow since I've known you and met you both. I've seen you grow stronger together. And this is amazing for me to see. And I've never said this to you. I'm saying it publicly on live. I never said this to you privately. I'm telling you publicly, right? What a way. But it's something I wanted to share with you because I see such a stronger bond, a stronger connection as a team for how you can how strong you are and how you can help people. So I just find that you have really come over some very difficult obstacles. You have come over some very steep mountains, some very treacherous terrain, and it didn't make you bitter. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of bitter people out there who will not let go of the hurtful things that happened, the mean things that people did to them. They won't let go of it. They can't let go of it. And you refuse to let that control one more day of your life. And
yeah,
that's
correct.
what you need to
I'm
share.
ho'oponoponoing people all the time. Let me tell you.
Well, that's the thing.
I want to
You don't let
respond to
that
that.
control. Yeah, you don't let that control and steal one more moment of your life. Go ahead.
Right. I'd like to respond to the question of whether we used healing meditation as part of our healing journey. I will admit, so I go into this in more depth, of course, in my book, The Secret to Healing and Recovery. But when I was so sick, I mean, I was bedridden for 8 months, and I remember thinking if there was time for me just to settle in and I would meditate. If I was ever sick, I would meditate. But we forget that our minds are just my sympathetic nervous system. I had seizures for 10 hours a day, and so like just constant nerve impulse. And so I was so far out of balance. Scott literally carried me onto the plane, and we traveled around the world finding healers and looking for people to help heal me, because there was no answer in allopathic medicine for what.
Oops.
And I was clearly in huge distress, and they were just like, well, it's gastritis, and sent me home. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, there was so many red flags. And I thought in that moment, I will not heal in allopathic medicine. Under crisis,
Right.
Great. If you need surgery, great. However, when it's a crisis of the soul, it's not going to be found in allopathic medicine. And so, yes, we did that. Yes, I tried to meditate, and yes, for years I pulled away from it because I was so afraid of letting my body and my mind get out of control. I was just constantly just trying to keep the dam from breaking. And finally, I just surrendered, and it took me a long time. And a few years ago, if somebody told me to meditate, I would sit for 3 minutes and I would be just shaking, and I would just like, how many things do I need to accomplish? And as far as language of reprogramming, coming from the AI language and programming and being, I prefer the language of recondition or repattern, because we are pattern people. We catch patterns in scripts. We catch patterns in art. We're aware of patterns. And so we repattern ourselves to a healthier behavior, a healthier emotional state. And now meditation is absolutely, Scott will turn on the meditation in the middle of the night if he wakes up. We try to meditate our attention 2 hours a day, maybe an hour and a half, minimum. And there's times, and it doesn't mean all at once. And I promise you, if somebody said, oh, I don't have an hour and a half, either do we, but that's because we're focused more on matter, and we feel like it's push, and we have to shove and make, this dog language that we've been conditioned with. We need to re-establish the fact that if we go into this meditative state, we raise our frequency, we raise our vibrational, we raise our emotional state, we calm our nervous system, and in essence, we draw to us what we desire. And that's the biggest reprogramming that we have to come to, is that this information, all of this information coming to us. What do I have to do? What do I have to do? Well, I have to take this, and it's going to take this. And we come from this language that it's hard work and drudgery, and we have to push in order to accomplish. And if it was worth it, then it's suffering is involved. If a relationship's worth it, then we have to suffer. And I'm going to call bunk on that and just say, in order to get to the ascended state, in order to get where we're going, we have to align to divine truth. And that's where we want to utilize our vibrational frequency. The law of attraction exists on every level. So get to that level of where you want to become on an emotional state and on a mental state, and draw it to us. And that's where meditation wins. You end up spending less time in the drudgery and the doing, and more time in aligning, and then becoming a healthier, balanced individual.
Hoorah! Good summary.
That's wonderful. Here we have a comment. I find that when I go inside and ask spirit, the answer does and will come. Maybe not immediately, but eventually it will come. The only thing that you will trust. We've learned to disconnect from our intuition. We've learned to disconnect from our consciousness. But honestly, this is funny. What happened was, I used to have a car that I used to commute into the city with. It was a very basic car because I used to park on the street, had no radio, nothing in it. Just basic little, it was one of those little, it was like a little commuter car, right? And because it had no radio, it would often drive me crazy. But after a while, boy, did the conversation start happening when did the messages start coming in? And because I had nothing else to do but drive, and it was like a 2-hour commute. But it was, then I could hear myself, because I couldn't be distracted by anything, because I was driving on the road and I was just paying attention to driving. There was no iPhone then, actually. So it was, you didn't have anything else distracting you. And it was amazing how incredible I connected during those times of driving and commuting, and not being distracted by anything else. But it took time to develop it, and it took time to trust it. And then when you get lost in these bad neighborhoods, and your guardian angels appear to help guide you and get you out of that. Well, I've had a few of those happen too. One of these days, maybe I'll talk about a few of those experiences. It's been very interesting, because you have to see the connection of the things that happen when you realize your angels and guides are actually with you all the time. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We kind of ignore them because we're in the chaos.
Right.
Well, we don't.
We try not to. We try to stay in that higher vibration so we can hear them and pay attention.
Right. And so I just want to thank you for coming and bringing this message today. We're going a little longer because it's a live chat, and we're interacting with our live chat visitors. And I want to thank all of our live chat visitors for coming by, and for all your lovely comments, and all the people who are watching live, who aren't in the super chat but who are watching live. I just want to thank you as well. Let me just ask you, of the message that we talked about so much today, it's always so wonderful. It's always so timely. We always really need to hear these messages at this time. And, of course, we know Saint Germain knows that. That's why he gives you that message, right? And we need to hear more about this. So I hope you'll come back, and we'll have another chance to talk about this again. I'm sure you will, because we love you and we want you back. And we
love you.
We love you too. And we love all of you that attended today.
We appreciate that.
We send you many, many blessings.
Why? Maybe, and let's hear what the viewers have to say about this. Maybe we should do a special live stream super chat, a super chat Q&A. Now, all the Q&As have to be super chat, folks, because we can't afford to do all of this time for nothing. You get to listen to it all you want for free, but the super chats are if you want to ask a personal question and have a personal interaction. Let me know what you guys think, if there's an interest for this, because I don't want to do it if the viewers don't have an interest. I want to hear from the viewers if you'd like to do a live stream super chat Q&A with the Werners, and with kind of like a mini abbreviated mentoring kind of thing, where you can get to ask your specific questions, and they can interact with you and give you the guidance and maybe take you through something that may be helpful to you. Just as a little introduction, we got some thumbs up. We have some thank yous. So I think we have some interest. I'd like to hear from more of you because I'd like to get a little bit more of a broader opinion if you think that would be helpful to you. We do suggest a $20 super chat, but it's really a minimum of 15. So that would be very helpful to help keep the channel going because it's all split between the guests and the report to keep the channel going and to help us with our time. So it's really, really very small amount, but it's just something that would, thank you for the thumbs up. So I'm getting some good feedback that I think people would be receptive to that. If you guys would like to do that, just as like a mini introduction to how you mentor and, a little, question, little Q&A. What do you think about that? I don't want to put you on. I don't want to put you on the spot on live stream.
No. We're all in because this is what we do, and we want to help humanity get into a higher vibration rather than getting this low controlled vibration. In fact, that's why we're doing the mentoring we're doing. And Saint Germain was the one that said, you need to start mentoring people.
Yeah.
And so we did. And it's been very gratifying. The people we have helped, they've done better in their lives. Yeah. Many of them have learned how to meditate. Many of them have accomplished things. Like we had 3 people who wanted to write a book, and they're written and published now.
3 of our clients.
And so we're
wonderful.
It's wonderful. Like we help people get to where they want to be. That's what it's all about.
And you are going to be making an appearance at the Conscious Awakening conference in Vail, Colorado. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's October 1st through the 4th. And it's the consciousawakeningseries.com. There's going to be speakers that are going to be speaking about the earth grid, and there's channelers and people that's focused on the ascension. Scott and I are both going to be mine is about waking in consciousness. Scott's going to be doing blessings. There's a
I'm losing the connection. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I started losing the internet connection. Could you repeat what you just said? Sorry.
Yeah. So it's October 1st through the 4th.
Okay.
And go to consciousawakeningseries.com. And the event is called The Flip Side of the Coin. So I'm going to be speaking about awakening consciousness. Scott's going to be giving a blessing, and he's going to be speaking about bringing the 5G, well, not 5G, but the 5th dimensional.
Yeah, the 5th dimension. I'm not bringing the 5G up.
Yeah, 5th dimensional, how we can integrate the 5th dimension into our physical experience now. That's going to be really fascinating. He's really excited about that. So there's going to be a wide variety of speakers, and there's going to be some booths there too. So again, it's the consciousawakeningseries.com, October 1st through the 4th.
All right, that's
excellent. We're going to be also doing a group mentoring. We're starting the ABCs of mentoring starting March 10th. And so you can go to scottwerner.org or vickywerner.com and get information about that. It's a 12-week series. We did one in the fall, and you can find that on the internet. Saint Germain wants all of this information out there. You can't afford to buy it, go to the internet, type in Scott Werner under the search engine, fall mentoring, and it will pop up, and you can go through that entire fall mentoring about the ascension. But this one's going to be more helpful in getting you more awareness, getting you out of the subconscious energies and the programming, shifting your programming to a higher consciousness. So we're giving you information. This is just a taste of what we do.
Right.
And we are going to take you through a process that will enlighten you and make things easier in your life. believe it or not, because you'll get out of this dense.
Yeah. Folks,
So
we
yeah,
are
that's
really
on
lucky.
scottwerner.org, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
I'll
no.
have the links in the description section of the video. So it's also vickywerner.com or scottwerner.org. But these links will be in the description section of this video. I just wanted to thank you both for what you're doing, because we need help. We really do.
We all do. Even Vicki and I need help, and we go and get it, and
I
we
know.
bring it back to you.
Right. And you are able to integrate and assimilate it. And you are, and that's really how you're rising in frequency, and that you're able to share that. And so you're helping people raise their frequency. You're helping people, with ascension. Now, I will announce this, because I know our viewers are going to want to know when we're going to do this live stream Q&A. We don't know yet, but I will announce it. You know what happens, though. Just realize, what happens when I announce these things in advance. Sometimes the internet mysteriously shuts down and there's all kinds of surprises, but hopefully not, this time, hopefully we'll be good. But look, the stuff we're sharing, this is life-changing information. This is really about you being happy and finding your own happiness, finding your path, and finding your inner strength to get you to do this. This is about us doing it for ourselves. It's not about anybody doing it for us. Vicki and Scott have really valuable tools that they can teach us and like I said, guide us, but not lead us, because we need to be our own leader of our own lives. We need to be the master of our own destiny. So they're there to give you tools and to be a guide, because they've walked the walk, folks, and they're here. And I have to tell you, I'm grateful for both of you. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
really,
Thank you.
really appreciate you, and I'm so glad that I know you, because I definitely need we all need to have their energy, because we need to be rising to that. We need to be getting ourselves out of the lower spectrum of Scott, we talk about this almost every time, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, where we're all kind of, a lot of people are stuck at the bottom. They go up a few steps and take a step back. So it's tough. It's a tough place to be, and we need to get out of the shadow self. We need to get out of those lower vibrations where sadly, we're used to it, but we've got to get out of them and realize that so much more will come to us. We'll attract so much more, because energy goes where attention flows. So we're manifesting, if you really believe that we're manifesting every minute of our life, then think of what you're thinking right now, and what are you manifesting? And we just need to really, it's not just that thought, it's everything else that comes along with it, what Scott and Vicki are talking about, that can really be helpful. So thank you both for joining us. Thank you to
I'm supposed to give a blessing.
Oh, please do.
Okay. Is that okay if we do it right now?
Absolutely. We're done, unless you have a final comment or some final message. But if the blessing is the final message, then let's do it.
The final message is blessing all of you, because we all need the blessings from heaven. So in the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and by being dedicated by the great divine director, give blessings to all the humans on and off planet Earth. We bless you, and we pull you up into the higher consciousness of love and light and happiness. We bless you that you will find your way in all this darkness and confusion, and come out of the darkness and confusion and come into the higher consciousness of love. We bless you that your health problems will disappear as you do this. We bless you that you will be comforted. We bless you that you will have optimism and hope and love. We seal these blessings upon you in the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and in the name of all the ascended masters and beings of light and love. So be it. So it is. Kind of a short one, but it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So it is. So thank you. Everybody is saying thank you. Everyone is saying how much they really feel the love in this room right now. They are saying, thank you to all of us, to Vicki, to Scott. They say, I feel the love, and they know it. They know that we're very genuine. This is not BS. Although there's times I talk about a lot of politics on this, on GoldFish Report. We have many different segments. We have different types of programs, different types of shows. I hate to call it programs because, that's really what they were doing with television, was programming us. But, we have different types of reports that GoldFish Report does. So, this is, of course, one of the most important ones, because we need, at the end of the day, to realize it's about ourselves. It's not even about politics. It's not even about everything else, although that is part of it. It's the life we're immersed in. It's like being in it, but not of it. Right? So separating yourself, like having this like a membrane around you, that doesn't allow things to penetrate you. As long as it's, if it's a physical attack, it's difficult to avoid those.
Yeah.
But those are different other problems for other solutions and for other problems. But thank you all for joining us. I will announce when we'll come back to do the live stream Q&A, and check out their website. And I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you, of course, to Vicki and Scott. What a pleasure again it is to have you. Thanks for being back in the GoldFish Report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And this
Be gracious.
Thank you to all of our viewers in the live chat, and to all of our viewers who are watching. This will be up on our channel very shortly. And I want to just say thank you. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks for viewing. And we are going to go off of